Assalamu alaikum. This is Adnan Azim from Greenwich University. We're going to be talking about bullying and body shaming today. We have Ms. Ghashia Kulsoom and Ms. Sanober Rizwan joining us. I think body shaming and bullying is something that's very predominantly pronounced and experienced, particularly by university students and in your young adult life. First of all, what I want to understand from you guys is from your perspective, how exactly do you guys define bullying and body shaming?
I feel like that bullying is something that a certain person says certain kind of words to you that might affect you in a personal way. Like it could be some words, some actions, or maybe like your the way you behave, that body language. I feel like उससे बहुत ज़्यादा bullying होती है और लोगों को feel होती है. Or body shaming, I guess it's just a way that society tells us to be in a certain way that we're supposed to be. It could be different for guys, it could be different for boys and girls.
Body shaming is technically like people judge you on the basis of your appearances. They make comments, and those comments are not nice, nasty comments, in
Yeah.
simple terms. And of course, about bullying, it's an act to harm someone. You bully them, and that also can have a lot of psychological impact.
I feel like it like burns that emotional hole in your mind that you're perfect. Or if someone tells you you're not perfect or you're not that slim or you're not that fat, तो मतलब आपको लगता है कि हाँ यार मैं इस तरह की नहीं हूँ. So I feel like
It becomes a part of your identity.
It
It
does.
does.
It does. And the thing is that this very idea is instilled in individuals from a very young age, especially in our society. सही है, बहुत छोटी एज में उनको ये सिखाया जाता है that you should look like this, you should be this, you should be
Yeah.
thin, you should be fair.
that grooming
Yeah,
technique, like
the
girls are
grooming
supposed
technique.
to keep themselves in a perfect way.
Yeah, these all things are very much instilled in a child's mind, and it continues throughout their adulthood, which is why individuals, especially girls, I'm not saying that of course guys not a victim of this, they are, but in our society I feel like women are more at
Yeah.
peak of this.
I feel like media also plays a big role in it because the people, the posts that they put, the comments that they do, the likes they receive and everything, it also affects us because we as users who are watching those things, we feel that, we don't have that certain figure, maybe for the girls. And we need that for a social acceptance. So I feel like...
I'm genuinely curious to know at what age, like what's your earliest memory that you guys have where you guys realize oh, I need to look a certain way in order to be accepted or in order to feel like I matter, or I need to uh, have a certain skin tone, or this is reflected as this is beautiful and this is not beautiful.
I think in my earliest memory would be 10 or 11, that young. And of course some girls are like more exposed to this at a very early age.
Yeah, I think I was that person, that some person who was exposed to it on a very early age, because our society accepts a person
How
who is more
were you
fair.
exposed to it at an early
Like,
age?
I feel like that I am a person who has a more tanner skin tone, and people in the society accept people who are more fairer to the skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, when you go to the school, you play games, you're into that environment where there's sun and everything. I used to get more towards the tanner side. So not just society, but I feel like even family, like my cousins used to
Yeah.
be like that, you're getting more tanner. And on their own words, if I quote, they're like, तुम काली होती जा रही हो. So I feel like उसकी वजह से I was exposed in a more...
So you were like, this is something that's wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, because then I was forced to, like dress in a certain way. I was supposed to wash my face frequently. I used to
Yeah.
put whitening creams not to look
Those
that
home
bad.
remedies.
I know that multani mitti and that haldi wala paste and everything. तो वो मुझे पढ़ना पड़ता था. So I feel like...
Okay.
Yeah, but that's a mishap that is a sad reality कि सबसे पहली ये जो चीज़ start होती है वो हमारी family से start होती है.
Yeah.
Whether it's your parents, whether it's your relatives. And वही है कि
क्योंकि उनकी subconscious psyche में भी होता है कि if
they're
you're a woman you
projecting
need
it
to
one
look
way
like
or
this.
another.
Yeah.
They like वो perfect child. It's almost impossible. For girls, it's like वही बात कि you have to be fair. For guys, it's like you have to be tall. You have to be this.
And there isn't
that.
much you can do there.
Yeah, I mean, like there's nothing much you can do that. And then of course they go to those remedies, which like वो ये ना कि they don't see the side effects of it. And this is till this very day in our Pakistan, I would say कि अभी भी appearances को ज़्यादा notice किया जाता है.
या लाइक
I
पतली
mean-
हो जाओ, मोटी ज़्यादा होती जा रही हो, हाइट छोटी है, काली होती जा रही हो, क्रीम्स लगाओ, ये करो वो करो, अपने आप को संवार के रखो, मेक योर हेयर प्रॉपरली, वेयर सम ज्वेलरी, लुक लाइक अ गर्ल, यू आर टर्निंग इनटू अ गाय.
And that's the thing, as Sanober pointed out, कि our media plays an important role.
It does.
So yeah, whether it's your films, whether it's episodes, those TV shows, they all show this, that you have to be this idealized person. You have to look like this. Whether it's for guys, they look good in suit, dress formally, wear a tie.
I feel like even if
Yeah.
they're coming in shorts, they're going to be like, oh,
Yeah,
good guy.
like chappal nahi pehen sakte ho. When it comes to girls, ये लोग अच्छा है, ये लोग अच्छे, ये लोग अच्छा है. So
Yeah.
it's not just girls. I would say, of course, both of the genders are very much affected by it.
Yeah.
And उसकी वजह से their overall self-esteem कितनी affect होती है, that is more sad, because these are the individuals who will face like all the signs of psychological disorders, such as they will be more prone to depression, for example, because they will automatically isolate themselves from this world.
And even
Hypothetically.
Anorexia.
people will feel like they're either getting too fatter because they're trying to, like get things
Yeah.
out of their body, or maybe they're going to a negative part where they start eating too much
Yeah.
to get themselves more isolated.
Yeah.
It's basically stress eating.
Stress eating.
That's
yeah.
what it is.
It's a eating disorder.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, and third category would be bulimia.
Bulimia.
You induce vomit.
Yeah, you're purging.
And I think women are more prone to it than men. And they deliberately induce vomit to make sure that they do not gain weight.
What are some critical factors that really escalate this? I mean, I understand from a fact that this is very much a societal problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things are so embedded within us subconsciously that when people get married and when people have kids of their own and those kids reach at a certain age, they don't realize, but they have started to label their kids कि तुम मोटी हो रही हो, तुम ऐसी हो, तुम वैसी हो, तुम कम खाना खाओ, तुम ये करो XYZ. And sometimes people don't even take into consideration how hurtful it is, or there are certain things that you don't joke about, so on and so forth. But what are those points when this really gets escalated and starts from an outside situation, it gets escalated, and then from that person specifically, they start to feel like they need to now do something just to feel okay about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Ki family, of course, as we said, and society. That's one thing. But वही है ना कि कब तक ये सारी चीज़ें अभी भी कैरी ऑन हुई जाएंगी. So we of course label our children, and वही तो है the lack of knowledge that parents do not have, or any relative. They feel it's a very common thing. So it's very natural. वो आप appearances को लेके compare कर लो, आप grades को लेके compare कर लो, education level को लेके compare कर लो. Comparison is everything. So that's how our social, like you can say, dynamics are built. Comparison is in our nature. We cannot deny that. But वही point है कि do not exceed it to a point that it hurts individual. Whether it's, of course, our body shaming, whether it's bullying, both of them are very, very much instilled in our society. ठीक है, कहीं भी, and it's not just schools and universities. You can see this in office. You can see this in any other organizations. This thing is a serious problem and it needs to be worked on.
And I feel like when it comes to, when you talked about marriage and kids and everything, this doesn't even stop even after you're married. Even after then, the people are pointing out at you that look in a certain way, dress yourself properly, put up some deodorant. You need to put yourself in a way that the husband is more attracted to you and doesn't go more about. So I feel like this doesn't stop, and I think it's a lifetime problem. And I feel like knowledge, as Ghashia pointed out, and we need awareness. Not just on a school level, but I feel we need awareness in those same media institutions, the news, the dramas, the movies, to show, that portray that it's okay, whatever that person feels or whatever that person is, physical wise, complexion wise, body shaming wise.
I do want to understand from a psychological perspective what triggers this. What triggers a person to go like, especially I think a lot of this happens. I mean, I feel like we face the harshest bullying and body shaming from people our own age. That's
Yes.
usually the case.
Yeah.
And for the people that are closest to us, that are we are very familiar with,
Yeah, the
interact
friends.
with on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So I genuinely want to know, where does their intention or where does their behavior stem from of looking down on the other person or treating the other person like shit because of the way that they look or so on and so forth.
Sometimes people do this just to make themselves feel good about themselves.
And I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes people just do it to,
In a fun
be in
way.
that society. To be a part of that society, they want to act like the society. But I guess friends have that
मस्ती में आती है,
positive.
friends में तो I would
हाँ.
say it's all about fun and games, but
But
then
I feel like there's a positive and negative part.
yeah,
right?
और
कुछ
family
friends
में it's कि क्या कहते हैं कि वो आपकी भलाई के लिए.
भलाई, वो भी टॉन्ट में भलाई
Yeah.
के लिए हो जाता है, लेकिन फ्रेंड्स में भी आपका कुछ फ्रेंड्स विच आर रियली लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू द गुड ऑफ यू, जिसको कहते हैं ना बहुत अच्छे वाले दोस्त हैं, आपका अच्छा चाहते हैं, खैर ख्वाह आपके, तो वो आपका सच में अच्छा चाहेंगे. दे माइट नॉट टेल यू इन अ proper way, but they'll be subtle about it, but they'll let you know. And then there's some who are the snakes of the circle, who will just be like, you're this, you're that, that falana person said that falana person said that about you.
So yeah.
So I feel like friends का बहुत बड़ा role है.
Would it be fair to say that, especially once you graduate from high school and once you move to university, does that escalate or does that decrease with time?
Both depends.
Depends. I guess it
Depends.
depends on your personality. If you are the rebellious kind of, you might just ignore everybody else. You're like, it's me. I like the way who I am. I want to be who I am. Let the world be.
So, yeah.
वो फिर अपने लिहाज से I guess they can do it. But
I think वही बात है ना कि increase भी to a point कि हो सकता है that now we are in a university, we can do whatever we want. So yes, we like, of course we've seen कि काफ़ी schools में and काफ़ी universities में there's this no bullying policy, but still there are a lot of cases of it.
yeah.
ठीक है, and उसके बारे में भी इतनी कोई strict action नहीं की जाती है.
Because
That's
it's hard
the
to interpret it.
Yeah, because
It's hard to measure its psychological impact and damage.
And I guess sometimes people also play the victim. Like even if they're not bullied, some people want that attention towards themselves, so they make themselves that victim
So yeah.
in order for that maybe revenge 2 years, 3 years before to that person. So I guess
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, well said. होता है, but वो ये कि just because of that particular thing, the people who are actually a true victim of it, वही बात है ना, we say so many things so easily that we don't realize the impact it can have on other individual. Like आजकल वो slang बना हुआ है कि यार I'm depressed, मुझसे बात नहीं करो आज.
I know.
I mean that's just sad. It's you do not know
the actual
side-
definition
Yeah.
and the pros and cons. You
Cons
don't
of
even
it.
know what
Yeah.
depression is.
And then they use it very
Easily.
Casually.
Yeah, they're
Casually.
like, I'm bipolar. Like,
Yeah.
why are you saying these things? You do not know. These words also, the word itself can have a lot of impact on an
I
individual.
think you
don't know how
start,
much
if
it
you
can
start to
trigger.
label yourself anything,
You start to become one.
I mean, it's very natural that you start to manifest those behaviors.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the why you said it. You want to become one. Maybe that's why you said it, because you want to become one.
Or maybe when a person points out that ये depression नहीं है, it just because there are ups and downs in your life doesn't mean कि depression में बैठ गया इंसान.
Exactly.
And then they go and search up everything and they're like नहीं ये है मैं हूँ.
I think it's just
That's the
people who
starting
are
of every
getting
psychological
attention.
I know. We start with that.
You're like, oh my god, I have this, I have this. Oh my
DSM-5,
god.
yeah, bipolar, yeah.
But for people who are watching, this is something that I think everyone has encountered at some point in their lives. How do you break the cycle? Like, because it's hard to break the cycle, because at some point the reason it affects you, or I think the reason it affects people as much as it affects them, is because at some point they do believe in that. They do believe that they should feel bad about themselves because of the way that they look, or they should feel bad about themselves because of the color of their skin. And the result is they have low self-esteem and they feel bad for a way longer time than
Yeah.
they actually should. So the question is, where do we break that cycle? How does one stop this?
Educating parents and family would be the first
Giving
place to
counseling.
start.
Yeah.
Of course,
I
'cause-
think I agree with you as far as educating parents and educating society is
yeah.
concerned. But how does that? Because I think the fact of the matter is something that we can all agree on. is कि ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो इतनी deeply embedded है. It's one of those things which everyone goes like हाँ ये गलत है. But
But
like when it
still
comes
But
to
do it.
thinking,
हाँ.
everyone thinks that way.
Yes.
Like you would always be like, okay, for example, if you look at a person down on this, on the street begging for money, you'd be like, इसने कुछ गलत करा है अपनी जिंदगी में, that's why
इसने
इसलिए
वर्क हार्ड नहीं किया तभी तक अभी तक वहीं का वहीं है.
exactly not कि इसको ये नौकरी क्यों नहीं करता.
Yeah.
Like maybe you just do not have the intellectual capacity to hold a job or something like that. We're like नहीं इसी का कुछ गलती होगी. It's just one of those things we're hardwired to. As an individual, if I'm the person who's getting bullied, or if I had to go through a lot of body shaming, how could I, if not let that stop impacting me at the bare minimum, what would be the way I would move away from that and in a positive direction?
Moving away. That's a toughie.
Yeah.
Like, of course, you can have education programs. You need to aware. See, running away, in my opinion, is not a solution. Of course, we need to stop this. Report first thing. Many people do actually get afraid to act, to come in front and be vocalized about the things that has happened. कितने सारे अभी हमारे निकाले
Even
हैं.
if someone does report that, and let's say the person who was bullying you does get punished,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you are by yourself, your self esteem and your even inner self monologue is still negative. कि यार अगर मैं ऐसा नहीं दिखता ना तो like my life would be better, or people would give me attention, or maybe the opposite gender would give me attention, so on and so forth. How do we change that inner monologue?
I feel like counseling has a great role in that.
Yeah.
Because when a person is sitting in a counseling session, getting all that stuff out that this happened, and the person is telling you that it's okay if you feel that way, but have you looked at the brighter side that maybe you have that IQ very high? Maybe even if you think you look that certain way, it's on you. Maybe you can go to a positive side, eat healthy, start eating healthy, or type of that situation where you counseling makes a bigger role into it. But awareness is good, because I feel like awareness बहुत ज़रूरी
Awareness,
है.
counseling, then educational program, all of these things can all play a major role, and these things should be started like straight out. I think before you
Class 5 there, it should be
even
there.
before.
Yeah.
Because वही है कि बच्चे तो बच्चे होते हैं.
And
अगर
not
आप छोटे
just-
Because I
बच्चे
feel
भी-
like this does stem from a place where, like, when did someone come to the conclusion that okay, white skin is a good skin tone and a black skin tone is a bad skin tone? Like, when did that concept come? Like, no one's taught that, right? घर पे बिठा के आपको कोई सिखाता नहीं है. But somewhere along the lines, you have this idea, you have this notion, and it's just there within you. So I feel, and especially when it's there within you, when you grow up, either you realize
that doesn't matter.
that
It
is
doesn't
something
matter.
that is completely irrelevant, or you just go with the flow of what's happening around you, and आपके बराबर लोग क्या समझते हैं, you just go in that particular zone. I feel like another part is of what you said, कि if you just focus on one thing that's missing from your life, and you stop focusing on all the 99 other things, and you just go like, I'm gonna feel bad about myself because I was bullied or because of X reason, then if that becomes your central focal point and that's what you focus on, think about all the other day, you are going to feel like you're not going to feel good, that's for sure.
So that's one way or another self-handicapping ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
is
that's
true.
also you labeling yourself. Until you keep on embracing that identity, I am a victim,
Yeah.
you're going to feel like a victim.
It plays a huge role. Like, does the person actually wants to change, or do they want to carry this label for the rest of their life? So we need to learn the fact that we are fine the way we are, and we need to be good. And even if you do want to make changes, go ahead.
It should be within us
Us,
on the
yeah.
sake of our own self. It shouldn't be just because a certain person said that you don't look good. It should be like, if I don't feel good about it, maybe I should start inner healing my own self rather than somebody telling me to heal. I think it's more of a self-confidence boost that we could give.
I do want to make one point over here, and something that I've observed in social media a lot is that there's also the other side of this coin, which is like too much emphasis on you're perfect the way you are.
Yeah.
You are absolutely nailing it the way you are. You are a princess.
That narcissistic
And
personality coming
you
through.
are absolutely perfect the way you are, and XYZ. I feel like both ends of that extreme are bad for your mental health. Because at the end of the day, if you want to genuinely improve your self esteem, you cannot, self affirmations are not going to improve your self esteem. You have to work on yourself. Just like, for example, if you want to have a good place in society, you work hard, you get a good education, you get into a good university, you work at a good place, so on and so forth. Similarly, if you want to improve your self esteem, if you want to feel better about yourself, you have to take those actions.
Initiatives.
Yes, you have to take those initiatives, and you do have to put in that effort. So that cycle of I'm a victim changes to I'm in control of my life, and I'm in control of what I'm doing at the bare minimum.
Yeah, and of course, in the beginning, it will be difficult because a lot of people do not have the guideline to actually come out of that cycle, and which is fine. Which is why I think many people feel कि हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. You need someone to confine it. Okay, you can go to your parents, you can go to your teacher, you can go to anyone who you think can actually guide you through it.
I think this is where counseling really helps
This
you.
is
Yes.
where counseling can really help you. But of course, self-affirmation, I would say to an extent it works because
They're like two ends of a
sometimes
spectrum.
you need that. So if you're वही बात है ना, if you're constantly saying I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad, if that's taking a toll on you, so just imagine if you're saying I'm good, I'm good. Yes, excessiveness of anything is bad. Is bad. That thing excessive itself is very bad. So the balance is something that of course an individual can take from a counseling session.
I agree completely. Sanober, do you want to add anything?
I feel like there's something to do with our society. Like a Pakistani society has something to do with either you're just too excessive towards something, or either you're just too excessive
Yeah.
on the other end. I don't
Moderation नहीं है.
Moderation नहीं है, कोई balance नहीं है.
I-
या तो parents बहुत like they themselves are very they have that overconfidence in themselves, so they treat their kids also with the same manner. Like you're the best among all the other children. You're the best. You're gonna get good grades. Let the world be. लेकिन वही अगर पेरेंट्स दूसरी साइड पर होते हैं, दे डोंट हैव दैट बैलेंस एंड एवरीथिंग एंड देर जस्ट ओके, सो दिल बी लाइक यू कैन डू बेटर. It's okay if you've gotten into a hurdle or there's something bad happening. It's completely fine. Just get up, stand up, and everything.
I think the key takeaway that we can take from this talk is if you're someone who is going through this, or you're someone who has experienced this, and if you're someone who's still living with this, still living with the consequences of it, then I think first thing to do is realize that if you yourself do not get help, this is really going to find its way into all of your intimate relationships.
Yeah.
Because if you have a low self-esteem, then your relationship with your partner, your relationship with with your kids, your relationship with other people is going to be impacted as a result of
Your
it.
daily life is going to be impacted.
Your
not
I
daily
just
feel
your
like
life.
there is
relationship.
self-boost confidence is better than getting positive affirmations from someone else. I think we should give ourselves that.
And we should
affirm-
believe in that.
Yeah, we should believe in ourselves.
We should
And the
believe in
The
that.
main thing is कि हमारे यहाँ जो main issue ये होता है कि many people do not come out saying कि मुझे जाना है counselor के पास, because somehow it's a taboo.
It is a
Somehow.
taboo.
I think it will always
you
be a
automatically
taboo.
people are going to be like कि
मैं
ये
पागल
तो-
हूँ?
Yeah.
And you've got
That's
pagal
what-
people who are
Who are
Yeah.
पागल और वो मानते नहीं है.
Yeah.
And that's what actually stops us to actually go and get some help.
Yes.
तो ये hurdles जो सबसे पहले बनते हैं, पहले तो उसका एक जो misconception है कि only someone
who's depression, who's bipolar,
having
who's like
psychological
schizophrenia.
disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, only they're the one who goes to a counsel. That's not wrong. Anyone can go to it.
Anyone, even a person who
Yeah.
wants a boost of confidence,
Yeah.
who just wants someone to listen. I guess even that person can go to a counselor.
I think the whole idea of counseling is to improve the quality of your life, and it's not something that is limited by any circumstance that you're in. I think at any given point, you're like, particularly emotionally and mentally, I feel like this is something where we all genuinely struggle. Like, as far as externally creating that facade of मेरी जिंदगी बिल्कुल ठीक है, I think बचपन से लेके आज तक we're brilliant at it.
We
कि
are.
जिंदगी बिल्कुल सही है, कोई मसला नहीं है. We can present that facade to society, our family, the people that we're very close with even with those people who are like हमारी जिंदगी बिल्कुल सही है, because you just don't know how to talk about the things that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And then it just piles on,
and
to
it's
a
just
point and it just
and
explodes.
you just
yeah.
can never do it, and that really manifests even in your intimate relationships with your partner and your kids. क्या आप उनसे भी खुल के नहीं बात कर सकते? As a result, वो भी आपसे खुल के नहीं बात कर सकते.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we experience this even with our own parents. You're like, how do we explain our problems to them?
Yeah, people
Without
lack
being
the
judged.
Ha.
Yeah.
And like, if we were to explain our problems, would they interpret it with the same intention
As
that
we
we
do.
have?
Yes.
Or they
With
would
that
be
same
like,
emotional balance.
Yeah. Like, oh, breakup हो गया, move on. बड़े हो जाओ. ये क्या
Yeah.
stupid बात है. So on and so forth. So
Empathy is important. In
It is. Empathy is very
I
important.
feel like your own emotional stability is very important. Varna, everywhere those small pieces are going to be left.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap it up at that. We'll meet in our next session of Intro to Psychology.